Manish Ranglani. I'm working as a cloud manager in Datamatics Global Service Limited. So I look after actually the technical as well as the management part of the cloud managed services, the cloud deployment, and like building the roadmap for our customers. How do they move from on-prem to cloud? How can they leverage the various services for the cloud, right? Okay. I hope you're going to find it interesting. Today's topic is automation appetite. Well, automation. So when we think about the automation, it in itself is a very broad term. As you know, Microsoft, they innovate, develop, release new ideas, new products into their Azure ecosystem. All right. It could be, your Azure Functions, Logic Apps, ARM templates, Azure Automation. Now the question can come to your mind, I have got so many services with me. So which one do I need to use? Well, that is something you need to identify based upon the use cases that you want to solve. For example, if you are looking at the Azure Function and the Logic App. So now how do you decide which tool I need to use? Okay. So Azure Function is a sort of imperative, the coding practices. However, Azure Logic App is a declarative. Now, what do you mean by this? When you say imperative, is something you need to sit and write a code, maybe in your PowerShell, Python, Node, whatever the programming language that you are familiar with. On the other hand, if you need to, let's say, do the workflow orchestration, you need to develop a process which, take the approval from different sort of stakeholders, can integrate with other set of services outside of even Azure ecosystem, a sort of step-by-step approval process. There is something you can leverage the Logic App. Okay, Logic App gives you the sort of ready-made actions and triggers. However, if you need to write those actions and trigger, basically you need to do the hardcore programming into the Azure Function app. All right. So automation appetite, we will majorly focus upon the what all automation offerings that Microsoft give you in the IT operations. So this will be the agenda for today's session. What is the Azure automation? What is process automation? Update management, configuration management, and what are the use cases that you can solve with these services? All right. Well, when we talk about automation, there are basically three different, streamlines that you can think from a bird's eye view. One is like your automation of your infrastructure provisioning. So, well, how Azure have a lot of services in its umbrella. What is that you can do with the automation to, speed up the deployment of these services? There is something there you can make use of the Azure automation. Response-driven application where on certain event, you take certain action. On an event of, let's say your memory goes up to the utilization of, let's say, some 80% of your overall memory or CPU utilization go up to the 90%, what is that you can do? Well, there you can leverage your Azure automation to take appropriate actions with it. Orchestrate, so orchestration, as I said, not only within the services within the Azure ecosystem, but even with the third-party services which are outside of Azure, be it your on-prem, other cloud providers, so on and so forth. So yeah, the management of Azure as well as non-Azure services, and basically automation gives you the complete control how you leverage, provision, operate, decommission those resources. So this is the high-level diagram. We will see each and every one of these things in action. Process automation, as I said, process automation in this you can use the PowerShell, you can use the graphical workflows to automate your services, some of your IT function, IT operation that you do on day-to-day life. Configuration management, well, you might have come across these services like you have got, let's say, hundreds of VMs in your Azure. How you want to manage the compliance of these virtual machines is? Well, if you give this virtual machine to, let's say, any developer, what is that if they install any malicious software? Any vulnerable activities if they do on this virtual machine, that may become uncompliance. So how can you track those things? Update management, well, it is very necessary for you to keep Azure resources up to date. You know, nowadays there are a lot of, anti-viruses, vulnerable, malicious activities which can impact your, services, and that can, breach and possibly take out some of the useful information from your virtual machines. So in that, how can you leverage the update management service? What is Microsoft give you as a part of update management service, which it can save upon your efforts, and you can make the best out of it. We'll see that in action. And they're definitely integration. So all these services, they are very seamlessly integrated with the Logic App, PowerApps, Event Grid, so on and so forth. All right. Process automation, as I said, in day-to-day life, we can say we have to do sort of mundane activities. For example, if there's a workload which is running on a production, it may not be running 24/7. Every business use case, every workload is different in its nature, be it on your virtual machine, your container apps, Kubernetes, so on and so forth. So let's say if you need to start a virtual machine at the start of your business day from 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 in the evening, you don't have to start it, and when clock ticks, you need to stop it. Well, that is something you can automate using the power of process automation. On top of this, you can schedule at what particular time my resource needs to do this particular activity. That we'll see in action. Webhooks is something which is, if people from the Web API background, they can relate. So webhook is nothing but your sort of endpoint. So from this particular endpoint, I can call my function or call my services. So if you need to use this particular services in outside of Azure's environment, you can call this webhook, run your respective services which are defined in the process automation. And the same, as I said, have the good integration with the other services and can definitely save upon your operation cost. These are some of the general use cases that people from the IT operation they can see, and they can solve this problem with the use of automation. So like build and provisioning of the VMs at the high scale, as you know, infrastructure is a code. If you need to deploy your virtual machine, you don't need to go through all those blades which Azure provides, enter all the information. No, you have the code, change the parameter and run it. That's what you have the, in a few seconds you have your service provision in the Azure. You can use it, starting and stopping of the virtual machines, deleting of the orphaned resources. One of the, if you see in today's market, a lot of tools, cloud cost optimization tools which are present. They give you all these, services where you can, see what is the utilization, how you're doing the monitoring part of it, what is that you can reduce or delete the resources from your overall Azure deployment, which can save upon the costing. Integration, DB management. So like truncating of the log file, it is considered to be one of the best practices. It happens you have got your database file, got your log file. Over the period of time, you may need to shrink your log files. That is something you can automate, right? And if any, at night you need to run any workload, any sort of job that you need to run, you can definitely use that in process automation. What is configuration management? Well, as I said, to make your services, your artifacts aligned to your, the policies which are there, you need to continuously monitor what things are being done on your virtual machines. How can you do this? Well, practically going manually on each and every machines is not possible. What you can do, make use of configuration management. Configuration management will give you the holistic picture of whatever softwares which are being installed, any registry updates has been done by any of the person, any Linux daemons has been installed, or any change has been done, and any new packages which are being installed in your tenant. You can make use of Azure configuration and definitely see those details. Now I'll show you the demo one here. All right, this is my Azure portal. Well, in order to create the automation account, what you need to do here in Azure, type the automation account right here. So you may see I already have a couple of automation accounts created. Let me create a new account here. Okay, let me select the resource group, account name. Next, manage identity. Just look at it. I'll come to this point later. So it says, user manage identity as a recommended method of authenticating your Azure resources. What is that? I'll come to that point later once this gets created. Okay, there it is. So this is how the Azure automation account looks like. The services that I just ostensibly which I mentioned: configuration management, process automation, update management, and runbooks. I'll come to those points one by one. So, well, runbooks. You can see you already have a couple of runbooks already defined when you create a new automation account. Alternately, you can create your new runbook. Basically, runbook is nothing, any set of automation steps that you want to execute on any particular event. There you can define your runbooks. You can import it. You can browse the gallery. Now let's see. Before creating, let me show you what is a browse gallery. So here, for most common use cases, you can see Microsoft and other publisher, they already push some of the runbooks into the automation. So here, for example, if I need to do any sort of automation with my virtual machines, I can see those automation runbooks here. For example, stopping of the virtual machines is if I need to scale up, let me take some other scenario here. Let's say for the SQL related, what are runbooks that we can do? Well, you can see vertically scale in the Azure database. How? Ideally, you have to scale up your Azure virtual machines by defining your SQL database by defining your higher configuration, memory, and code usage. This is something that you can also do with the help of runbooks. So for variety of the common business cases, you already have those runbooks predefined here. So let me do one thing. Let me create a runbook. So this is my runbook. As you can see, these are some of the runbook type that I can create: Python, PowerShell, PowerShell workflow, graphical, and graphical PowerShell workflow. Well, we'll not go in depth on each of every one. I'll show you some of the simple demo with the PowerShell. Now, from the graphical workflow, you can make out something, the runbook that you can create with the help of graphs. So rather than writing the code, you can just drag and drop some of the graphical interfaces. It will work. PowerShell. Let me define the runtime, create it. So it will create a new runbook into my Azure Automation account. Under one automation account, I can have many runbooks defined. All right. Okay, so here's your runbooks which is created. Now, if you remember the earlier slide which I've mentioned you, there were some of the assets which were shared across your runbooks, like variable connections, certificates, credentials, so on and so forth. So these are some of the variables you can call. You can use it across multiple runbooks. So we have got the runbook. What is that we want to use with it? What we want to do with it? So let's say I've got one simple Azure container instance, and my requirement is every morning 9 o'clock, I just want to turn on, I want to start this Azure instance automatically, and during day at 6 o'clock, it will automatically turn on. So it will save upon, because you are not using that operational time, it will save upon your cost. How that can be done? So you can see as of now it is in stop state. If you want to turn it on, so I have already set of commands written with me. I'll just copy paste here. So as I said, not only for Azure container, for the virtual machine Kubernetes, you can use such kind of resources. So let's say for the container instance, all right. Okay, yeah. So before this, one important point, as I said, while creating the automation account, I said one of the point which I missed here is this. Identity. So how do you want your runbook to run? Well, earlier there used to be run as account. So with run as account, Azure creates a different account. Whenever you want to run the runbook, you need to pass the credentials. But now, as you can see, Microsoft recommended don't use your runbooks. If you want to use the runbook, you go with the identity approach. So with this, all you need to do, give the permission to your Azure runbook for whatever operation that you want to do. So for example, here I want to assign a role, a contributive role. Done. I'll go and create a runbook here. I already have this. Simply, I'll just edit it. Okay. What it says, so here, as you can see, with the identity, the Azure account will log in with the identity rather than passing run as account credentials. After login, what you need to do, hey Azure, just stop the container instance. Okay, so as of now, you can see container is at the stop state. Let me start it then. Okay, so you just need to provide the parameters like the name of your container and the resource group. So here it is. Let me publish it. Test it. Okay, I'll start now. So ideally, what should happen once this runbook is completed? Should we start testing? All right, let's see. Is it already started? Okay, sorry. Is there any issue with the copy paste? Sorry. Let me stop it. Okay, I'll test it. So as you see, container is already running. There's an IP address assigned to it. It will, ideally you should stop the container. they do? Oh, okay. Is it some copy paste? So it's running. Okay, now you see stop. Now this is done. So how can you automate it? Simply, now this is my runbooks is ready. How I want to schedule it? I will tell Azure, hey Azure, I want to schedule something. I want to schedule to start it. So what was the, it's like you have stop, right? What was the we have given here? So basically, just a name. You want to start it in my IST zone recurring. So every day, when my customer is using its own application by 9 o'clock, I'll just simply go run this. It will automatically run it. I'll just, every day start at what time? So I've given like 4:30 or so, whatever, create it. That's it. So it will automatically get triggered for whatever schedule that you have defined. Okay. Similarly, if you want to turn it off at 6 o'clock, write another schedule. Is there an issue? Okay, create another schedule that will turn off your containers. Not only the containers, as I said, it's a simple approach which will work with any of your services, be it Kubernetes, virtual machines, wherever you can save upon your cost, you can use it. Okay, another option which I want to show you, and any questions here before I move ahead? Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I think there's an option here with the yeah, it can be done. So there's an option where you can take it from repository as well. Maybe from source control here. I've not tried it, but I've read about it. And yeah, one more point, as I said, not only you can, there's a webhook, something I want to show you. So here, if you want to use this runbook outside of your Azure, how would you call this runbook? So here's an option. What you need to do, add a webhook. As I said, webhook is nothing but the endpoint which will trigger any of your runbooks. I want to create a new webhook. Okay, webhook 1. Important thing to note here, always copy the URL of the webhook because you won't be able to find it later after your creation of your webhook. Okay, no parameters created. So whenever, let's say if you want to call this runbook from PowerApp, Logic app, or even outside with the HTTP trigger, you will be able to do it with the post HTTP method and call this using the webhook. Okay. Another point I was referring here is a configuration management. So here, just see this. So as of now, this is the newly created automation account. You see, it is asking me to give me the log workspace. So log workspace is one of the important aspect in the Azure where it gets integrated with your virtual machine. It sends, so virtual machine get, send all the data into the log workspace, and then you can take it from there based upon, whatever you need. So I already have one of the log workspace enabled. It will take some time, so I'll show you. So what happened, once you enabled it, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to enable. So here you can see, you'll be able to see, you will be able to add your Azure virtual machine, non-Azure virtual machine. You'll be able to monitor, are there any changes which is being done in terms of the inventory, your change tracking. So basically it says there's something which this machine has been reporting in last 24 hours, something has been done. New software, something has been done. Okay, so there are some software which are being installed, some Windows services has been changed. If any user just unintentionally go and change the registry, you'll be able to see that information here as well. Any daemons which has been changed, so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, quick information. So you may wonder, you have got Runbook, you've got Azure function. When I should use which method? Well, here's the answer. Generally, you see Azure function app is being mostly preferred for the serverless integration. Okay, any short span of workload that you need to run, you go with the Azure function. However, if there are any long running jobs that you want to execute, you have the option better to go with the Azure Automation. Second, if you can see Azure Runbook, we will be able to create using the PowerShell and the Python. However, if you are the developer from Node.js, Python or the Java, and you are comfortable in that area, you can use the function app, right? Important point, this is something called as hybrid runbook and local run. So when we say local run, it is like Azure function run within your Azure tenant. Hybrid runbook, something that you can run outside of your Azure tenant, maybe your on premises or any other server outside of your Azure VNet. Update management. Well, as I mentioned, update management is one of the another important service which Microsoft is providing the Azure Automation, where you can install the critical updates. So you might be knowing Microsoft release especially for the Windows virtual machine, they release the updates on the second Tuesday of every month. So is it like one person has to sit and install the updates on all the virtual machines? Probably not. It's okay, like on 1 and 2 virtual machines, it's okay. What if you are having the banking application or any large scale application where you have hundreds of servers running? You cannot ask one person to sit and install the updates on each of your server. What is that you can do? Make use of the update management. There, update management support Windows as well as Linux OS, where you can install their updates. You can also have the granular control which sort of updates you want to install, any software security patches, application related updates you want to install, anything you want to exclude, make use of the update management. Okay, I'll come to this point. Just want to show you something interesting here in update management. Okay, it's the same automation account that we have, and this is, okay, I'll go to the update management here, which is my pre-created. Now, if I go into the newly created, it will definitely again ask me to create the log workspace. It's going to take some time to save up on the time. I already have something built here. So it says there are 3 virtual machines which are compliant. Okay. Now, if I go to the Azure virtual machines, how many VMs you can see, guys, here? How many VMs you can see here? 2 running VMs. How many VMs you can see here? 3. Anything difference you find? Non-Azure. It says EC2. Familiar word? EC2 is AWS. What we have done, there's a virtual machine running in AWS cloud. You're bringing that virtual machine, not bringing, you're linking that virtual machine into the Azure Update Management. Whenever you install the updates, it will get installed on all the virtual machines which are tagged to your update management. Let me show you here. This is my Windows server running on AWS. Okay, I have linked that server with my update management. How that linking has been done, I'll show you the quick thing here. What happened? So, as I said, it is via the log workspace. So, log workspace gives you the agent. Any virtual machine which is outside of your Azure, if you want to bring it, install agent on that virtual machine, it will automatically get linked. So here you can see there's a workspace which has been created. It's the same virtual workspace which is linked with the automation account. There's an agent. Simply download your agent, install it. It will ask you some of the workspace primary key and other artifacts. So this is already done. So there's a agent which I already installed, and this is configured to link with my update management. What you can do, you can schedule your updates. You can, add Azure, non-Azure VMs. You can manage VMs once, like at the initial, if you want to have any GCP or any AWS machine you want to link in, just select that machine from here. As I already done, that's why it is not showing me here. Okay. Now, quickly, I want to show you one more thing here. So, Update Management Center, there's some difference. Now, this update management and this update management, there's a certain difference. The difference is this is something new service which is still in preview. The difference is this particular service demands you to create the log workspace. Until and unless you have not created log workspace, you will not be able to add your virtual machines. However, Update Management Center is independent of creating your log workspace or installation of that agent. All you need to do, just add your virtual machines from here. Okay, so you can see there are two virtual machines which I already have. I can select this. I can say schedule the updates. You know what? I just want to have one configuration defined. Let's say this is my configuration 1. Configuration 1. What it says, now pay attention here. Maintenance scope, it says, is your virtual machine dedicated host? It's an OS image or it's a ARC or guest OS VM. Select whatever is preferable to you. Do you want to reboot your machine every time your updates is getting installed? Select that option. Maybe yes, maybe no, depend upon the requirement. I say reboot only if it is required, add schedule. So I'll add a schedule. I say, you know what, start it on the, let's say this Sunday. IST zone, maintenance window is okay. Repeat it every week. It says from October 23rd. Okay, from October 23rd, in the IST zone, I will repeat this particular thing. What is that? Installation of your updates. Okay, just save it. Next, select your virtual machine. You can see, even in Azure, I have got 2 virtual machines, but I'm able to select only 1. Tell you the reason for why. So, let it run the validation. I'll show you the reason for this. Do you see any difference in these 2 virtual machines? Any attributes? Patch orchestration. It says patch orchestration automated by the operating system, or you give control to the Azure. So all these honors of handling the update, you give it to the Azure. rather than your OS being handling those things. What I need to do, I just need to enable one profile parameter in this virtual machine, and even I'll be able to select that virtual machine. How's it? It just, you need to enable one of the parameter here. So I'm saying the update is let it handled by the Azure. Okay, say automatic by the platform. All you need to do is select that virtual machine. Okay, so what's a name of a virtual machine is VM02, VM02, and that's it. Should be able to run it, right? It will change the profile parameter of that virtual machine, make it enabled to be updated by the Azure as per the defined schedule by you. So let it run. Let me create here. So here, schedule is done. On every Sunday, starting from this Sunday, it will check for the update and install my updates for whatever VMs which I have selected. Okay. So let it run. I'll come to that point. Okay, so the last topic, Azure Auto Manage. I'm sorry. What is Azure Auto Manage? Well, it might happen that you have got heard about this term, well architect framework. Okay, set of services which are defined by the Microsoft or some scholars. Those are something you can refer to the a well architect framework. Now, what is it? Resiliency, all those parameter, performance, all those parameters that you know. What happened if you have got the virtual machines and you want to automatically apply all those best practices on that virtual machine, rather than going and creating, let's say, backup of all of your 10 whatever machines that you have in your workload. Backup, log analytics, you can update management, as I said, automation account, change tracking. If you want to enable it for all of your virtual machine, all you need to do, just make use of Azure Automate. How that is done? Okay, this is already completed. So you see, VM2 has been changed to the Azure Orchestrator. Earlier it was OS Orchestrator. Okay, so now I'll be able to schedule this virtual machine as well for the automatic updates. Same process, you define your configuration. Okay, I'll move to the auto manage part of it. Here's the auto manage part of it. Something interesting. Now, you want to auto manage your virtual machines. Okay, you want to enable it on your virtual machines. Fine. It says, what is the configuration profile? Is it your production workload, your dev workload? What is it? I say production workload here. So it is giving me the available virtual machines. Okay, but before this, if you notice there's something called as configuration profiles. What is configuration profile? Well, as I said, there are a few parameters which I mentioned in my diagram. DR, setting up the DR, site recovery, enable log, automatic update management. All those things you define your profile in your profile. So there could be profile in which you don't want to create the site recovery for your dev virtual machines. You would like to have the Azure Defender or any update management for your production workload. Create the profile, attach this profile to your virtual machines. That's it. How it is done? For example, here you define all those parameters. You want to create the backup, you want to enable Microsoft anti-malware, want to enable Azure Insight monitoring, auto manage, update manage, so on and so forth. So I've created one profile, backup profile, defining that parameter. When I auto manage, I'll say on my existing virtual machines, this is my backup profile which I've created. Next. Select your virtual machines. So it may take some time. How it looks like. So basically once you create it, this is how it will say. So whatever virtual machine you have created, it is confirmed. So automatically for those virtual machines, whatever parameters that you have defined in your profile, those will get applied. You have said, I want a DR of this virtual machine. Rather than you going and setting up the DR for all those virtual machines, Azure Auto Manage will do it for you. These are the quickly highlighting some of the benefits, like it's a pay-as-you-go model for the Azure Automation. It's a SaaS in nature and give you a lot of option for doing the automation of your regular, IT operations. Yeah. So I'm done. Any questions, guys? Yes, sir.
Can we add physical devices as well in the implementation? So Azure gave an example of compliance and those are there.
So physical level, you want to say edge IoT devices?
Normal laptops.
Edge devices, I'm not sure, but on-premises you can definitely add through the Azure Arc.
Okay.
Azure Arc, you set up with your link with your on-premises, and then Azure Arc with the single window pane, you able to see all the virtual machines from the Azure Arc and the Azure itself.
Okay.
Edge devices, sorry, I'm not sure. Yes.
There are different versions of models we need to install. Can you please tell me about that? What is the latest model? Which one we can go for now?
Which one model are what?
Which model is the latest version? Which model we should go now?
So I think that is completely, it's a more generic question. If you say the module, so you need to see what are the supporting APIs in that particular module. If you want to provision something which is not available in a specific module, it entirely depends on case-to-case basis, sir. Nothing specific, you have to go for that particular module only. So you need to see what are the features or the upgrades are given in that module.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. Done? Okay, thank you so much, guys.